Carpe Diem. My name is Ultranatic, and this is my Total Drama vlog. Yeah, it's been a hot second since I've been in this shirt, hasn't it? But this feels like the appropriate time to do so. So I'm sure a lot of you heard that we got a new Total Drama reboot in the mix, and I wanted to give my thoughts on it. Now, I'm not doing this in my Total Drama reviews format, you know, with all the editing and the extra jokes involved, because I kind of want to do all of those in order, and I do intend to get to this new season eventually. I swear, like, with all my extra projects and the job I have, it's gonna take a little bit to get there, but I am not quitting on this show. I love Total Drama too much to do that, so I figure a good middle point for that would be to make these vlogs for the episodes as they're airing in Canada, just so I'm not completely leaving people who haven't seen the show all the way through in the dark. Now, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching these vlogs have seen this new season all the way through. I have. I've seen a couple episodes twice now, but I kind of wanted to give myself and y'all the experience of me giving these vlogs as if the episodes were coming out completely new, so I'm not here to talk about what I think of any episode down the line. This vlog is just going to be for the first episode and nothing more. But I'm going to try and be as extensive as I can without giving away exactly what happens down the line for anybody who doesn't know. I do know where the outcome goes for the most part. I haven't seen any kind of alternate ending for the final two, for those who know who makes the final two. So that would be a new thing for me to see as well whenever I get to that, assuming we do get to that. But for now, yeah, let's just stick with the very first episode of this new reboot season, Meet the Victims, which is already a pretty good title for a new season. It gets everybody back in the vibe of this show. And I guess before I dive into the episode, what do I think of the cast in general? Just the idea of it being another 50% BIPOC cast, a lot like what they're now doing with Survivor and Big Brother and whatnot. Honestly, I'm all for it. I know a lot of people have issues with the newest seasons of Survivor and Big Brother, but the casting is usually not the problem for most of the viewers. It's just like a bunch of other extra twists and turns that they're trying to add on to the show, which doesn't really help anything further progress on it. Whereas with this, with Total Drama, this first episode actually gives it exactly what we remember about the show, with a new, fresh cast, and unlike, say, Pakatu Island, where, spoilers, I think they are completely out of this world in regards to what kind of personalities these people have. Like, I don't know anybody who would act like these people. These contestants feel a lot more real, like, a lot more like I can meet them, but, like, in real life. But I also get the impression that they are still really good cartoon characters with a lot of zany, funny lines and cartoonish antics. So we got a good medium there. And as for the voice change of both Chris and Chef, personally, when I first began watching this season, I wasn't exactly sure how to feel about it. And this first episode, it does still ring a little bit weird to me. But the characterization, 100% better so far already. Because while we do know he's still the same Chris from the original seasons, it's the original early seasons. Because a lot of people know that the longer and longer the show went on, the crazier he got. And the more sadistic he got. And the more inhumane he became. So it's nice to know that in this episode, he's actually a lot more grounded. He feels more like an actual host. He's still taking joy in the idea of spreading misery to these contestants. And yeah, that's been a thing for Chris since the beginning. He just took it way too far as things went on. Here, though, it's a much better medium. And oftentimes when he's spreading misery to a higher degree, it's often at a time when the contestants are kind of asking for it. Not intentionally, but they'll definitely see, he'll definitely see a contestant just be like, oh, like, what happens next? He's like, oh, we got to teach you up on this stuff. And I think that's fun. Now for every contestant individually, and I'm going to try and go into order for when they appeared in the intro, or not in the intro, but when they first arrived to the island. Because in the intro, most people notice that 3 contestants aren't even shown, and that's a little bit weird. Also, as far as the intro goes, I like the theme in general. I think a couple of the lyric choices are a little sloppy. Like, hey, what's up? I'm here to slay. maybe it's a me thing, but I've never quite gotten into that kind of lingo, so I don't know how I feel about it, but yeah, it's still a total drama theme. It's still got a good catchy melody. Now to the contestants. The first person to arrive was Millie, and she's there to say how she's coming to kind of study the show a little bit to learn more about her generation. I don't know if Total Drama Island is the best place to learn about that kind of stuff, but I think I'm gonna guess that would be exactly what she's supposed to learn about these contestants, because she's sort of treating them like numbers. From what we can gather. Now, granted, these contestants do, in fact, act insane as what the show requires, but it's still not really a thing you're supposed to study. It feels a little bit like the Spencer Bledsoe story arc, where I have to learn how to not see these other players as chess pieces. I think she's got a nicer heart than Spencer did in general. Nothing against Spencer, I like him. It's just he came across as a lot more cold and calculated, maybe. So I don't see that quite yet from Millie, but she does have to learn. These are people. I'll have to see that. Then we have Axel, the zombie fighter. We got in her intro piece, we got a fun little callback to Sean from Pocketoo Island being in zombie form. Oh, that's gotta be his personal hell, because that was like the one thing he was trying to avoid happening to him. But she does seem extraneously prepared for this show, so we'll see how that goes. We have Priya, whose parents are ultra fans of this show, to the point where they gave birth to her while they were mountain hiking. She went over a cliff and had to go by her umbilical cord, which, saying that out loud, that sounds like a Freddy got fingered kind of scenario almost. I think there's going to be a joke in the show that her parents are probably not the best parents. I'm sure they love her, but this kind of pressure on her, I'm like, can you let her just be a kid, a person? I don't know. But I do wonder what people think of her, because she gives me kind of Sky from Pocketoo Island vibes, except for the part about Sky, not telling Dave some very easy to provide information of, hey, I was dating, but I was going to break it off with him. We can start something. That I don't like, but that's for a later time. For Priya, I don't see that happening yet. It's just going to be about her being a competitor, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to be like, she's an absolute Mary Sue, which I don't know, but I hear the term Mary Sue get thrown around way too often in the Total Drama fan base, and I personally want to wait around and see. She's probably going to have some intense flaws about her that she's going to have to deal with on her own terms. Then we have Z, or his full name Hezekiah, but everyone calls him Z, and everyone immediately saw him as a major fan favorite just from the initial poster. And yeah, Z is in fact a cool dang character. He's just got this chilled, relaxed vibe. Like, you just want to sit back and just I'd say have a beer with him, but he's a teenager, so no. But have a nice soda, which they have a funny gag in the show, in this episode at least, where somehow he just always has an extra soda can just pop in his hand out of nowhere, and he has no idea how. I love that. That's a nice little detail to add, make this world a little more surreal. Then we have Ripper, who for many people, from what I've recalled, is one of the most, is probably the most unlikable character in this season. I sort of agree, especially based on this first episode, but I think he's intentionally unlikable. I don't think you're supposed to be rooting for this character. I don't think they're setting up any kind of win for him. By the looks of it, he is supposed to be this alpha male kind of person who just thinks less of a lot of other women, which I really should hate and I definitely don't like. But they do give him some immediate comeuppance throughout the show. He talks down to Axel early on, and she gives him a stare, and he's just like, you know what, never mind. We'll do things your way. That's funny, and that is something I'm hoping we get more of from the show, because otherwise he probably would become insufferable. Say Jason Hedden from the newest season of Hell's Kitchen. I hope it doesn't get that bad. We'll see how that goes from there. And we have Damien, who seems like a cool, smart kind of person, but he wants to get that $1 million, but he has no idea how this show works. And yeah, as somebody who literally reviews it, I was like, oh, you poor soul. you poor soul, you're gonna have to learn a lot, but yeah, we'll see where that goes with him. Next, we have Lauren, aka Scary Girl, who from the moment I saw her in the poster, I was like, favorite. I love her already. I instantly want to know more about this character. And now we've got her, and every expectation I've been having, can't talk, has been met so far. She's just weird, creepy, menacing, but so passionate about all this macabre, scary stuff. It's Halloween. I'm just living for every single thing I'm seeing from her so far. Anybody who calls her Lauren, I'm like, who? No, she's Scary Girl. Like anybody who saw her name, I think I remember them saying, like, really? She's just called Scary Girl? What else can you call her? Look at her. If you call her anything else, you're fooling yourself. She's 100% Scary Girl. And I live for that. Next, we have Bowie, the first openly gay contestant. I say openly because there's been some, like, gay undertones with a couple other past whole drama contestants, like Noah, Owen, I'm gonna say Gwen and Courtney when, you know, All Stars happens and whatnot. Even the fashion, I think it was fashion vloggers in Rodonko's race, Tom and Jen, even they have a little bit of that so far. But, no, Bowie is like openly out, and I think he's so far a pretty good character. I like his confidence. I like the fact that he's enjoying a lot of drama that we're seeing so far, and I like that he's a major strategist, but I'll get to that in a minute. Then we get Chase, who comes in, who I've also heard is one of the most unlikable characters in this season. That I get more. I do think that his obliviousness is supposed to be part of the joke with him. It's a joke that if you use it too long would probably get a little tedious, so we'll see how that goes. But it is kind of cool that as far as he's apparently a social media influencer himself, like a YouTuber of sorts for this show. I forget what they called it. But it's often doing a lot of crazy pranks, which do tie in the challenges you'll often see in Total Drama. So he's actually kind of more prepared than many people might have been before him. So, yeah, I'm intrigued to see how he does. Of course, he also mentions the small detail that before he came on the show, his girlfriend broke up with him for reasons that he has no understanding of. And then we cut to the very next contestant, Emma. And a lot of people are going to be confused because there was an Emma on Rodonko's race. So I'm going to try to refer to her as Blonde Emma just because the other Emma was not blonde, she had black hair, so yeah, that's a good differentiation between the two. But yeah, Emma comes on. Again, she seems to have a decent amount of fire in her for the reasons we get to it shortly. And we have her being mad at her ex-boyfriend, who we find out is Chase, and the fact they came on this show together just pisses her off so much. And of course, Chris sarcastically says, it's almost like we brought you two together on purpose, but we know we couldn't have done that. You see, I like that. I like that side of Chris. More stuff like that, please. It reminds me a little bit of the X's twist from Big Brother 8. And as sloppy and crazy as that got too, it made some great drama, and it does here too. So I'm all for it. Then we have MK, or Mary Kate. MK is more appropriate because when I think Mary Kate, I'm thinking of, you know, Michelle Tanner, and no, this is definitely not a Michelle Tanner type. She's supposed to be a little sneaky, wily. She's even a pickpocket. Little bit of a hot take maybe for me. I think her voice is kind of annoying. I know I'm one to talk, but no, like there's just something kind of weird and like forced about it, and I don't know. It's rubbed me the wrong way so far. But at the very least, I'm liking her writing. So I can get past the somewhat annoying vocals if the rest of her character fulfills in the gaps there. Then we have Caleb, who it looks like is supposed to be the Justin of this season, except more dialogue and, you know, an actual desire to want to play. All right, much better start. In that everyone sees him and thinks he's gorgeous. Objectively, he is. Who are we all kidding? He even has his boat crashed in from the person who was driving it, saying that she'd never met anybody as hot as Caleb. And he's like, no problem, happens all the time. Which, okay, the thing about people being blown away by your looks, that I believe. The part about a boat crashing is, you didn't mean that part, did you? Because that's kind of funny. Then we have the two hockey bros, Wayne and Raj, come in. And they remind me a decent amount of Jeff and Brody in Redonkulous Rays, except replace surfing with hockey. Honestly, I get the hockey thing a little bit more because I'm sure surfing can be done in Canada, but it's one of those things where hockey's kind of the thing that they're more well known for. I've seen a lot of Big Brother Canada. I've seen a lot more hockey players than I have surfers. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, they have a good camaraderie together. They're also a teensy bit dim. Not like not like really stupid. Just like they're not the sharpest crowns in the box, if you will. But I like their naivete and I like their camaraderie. And as opposed to Katie and Sadie as BFFs, who annoyed the crap out of me and who I didn't see their friendship together at all, these two I do. I do get a decent bond from them. Then we have Nichelle, who is apparently a star of a couple TV shows that everybody knows about. And that's most of what we get out of her this episode, so I don't have a ton to go off of there. But at the same time, I think that is a pretty cool thing about her character. And finally, we have Julia, the other social media influencer, except unlike Chase, who does it on videos, well, I guess you guys kind of do it in videos, but is kind of more on the Instagram level of influencer. She arrives at the game with a bunch of phones, reminds me a lot of Dakota from Revenge of the Island, and she gets them all confiscated, even having Chris use a metal detector on her to try and get them, only for MK to later grab one off of her, along with a necklace. The metal detector didn't catch those. A cartoon, you gotta accept these kind of plot holes sometimes. But yeah, we see her more as like the chill, calm, namaste kind of person. And those are not normally the flashiest contestants in my opinion. I'm sure people are going to tell me, what about Caitlyn and Big Bird 20? Okay, she's fun. I don't know, like, it's one of those things where I don't know how much drama that would often bring. That's just a me concern, though. Whenever people like that kind of persona, all for it. I'm just hoping we get more of her later on. They get divided into teams with Millie, Axel, Priya, Scary Girl, Ripper, Damien, Chase, and Z being on the Ferocious Trout, which is pretty much just the Killer Bass if you switch a couple words around with like synonyms. And then you have Bowie, Blonde, Emma, MK, Caleb, Wayne, Raj, Nichelle, and Julia on the Frogs of Death. We get some decent comedy from all these contestants and how they interact off each other with a bunch of these random questions that they're all asking. I argue the comedy's a little slow. It's not bad. Like there's no joke that I think bombs. There's no character moment that I outright hate, which is a pretty good sign for a premiere. It's just like it could maybe be improved upon a little bit, but it's a decent start. Like I'm not gonna say that it's like ruined anywhere. The contestants all settle into their cabin. You got a lot of the girls from the Ferocious Trout having to work off each other, like Priya not being keen to sleep next to Axel or Scary Girl. Gee, I wonder why. And getting a really bad mattress under Millie's bed. You got Ripper trying to assert his alfalfa male stuff. That was a funny line. To Z, who is just so chill. He's like, I'm not trying to fight, peace and war. You know what I said about Julia and the whole like namaste thing not working for me? I take that back. Z's awesome. I think he's great, and I hope we get a similar kind of experience with Julia. So I could have been wrong there. Then we get the first challenge, which I like this challenge. It's not too complicated, and it actually feels like it's worthy for a premiere of going through an obstacle course blindfolded. A lot of really deadly, painful obstacles is fitting of total drama, and having to obtain some fish guts and then bring them back to a big pulley system that two other members have to bring up, and then two members at the top who are guiding the blindfolded contestants have to just obtain. Honestly, the only job of the people at the top is just to, tell the runners where to go and whatnot. A couple of the highlights here are just the good leadership ability from Wayne on the Frogs of Death. You got Nichelle not knowing that bees can sting wherever the heck they want. You get Ripper accidentally mooning people several times when his pants get ripped. Insert the SpongeBob song. And we get a giant revelation about why exactly Emma broke up with Chase. And Bowie's instantly like, oh, I bet he kissed another girl. That'd be a fair assumption, but nope, that's almost nothing compared to what he actually did. He, quote unquote, cut the brakes on her car. Breaking up with him is probably the least you should have done. I'd argue a restraining order, maybe get a, maybe call for someone to try to okay, no, not gonna be that kind of mean, but they're cartoon characters. Like, just roll with that. But, yeah, like, breaking up with him, decent first step. And she's, of course, a little more focused on that than winning the challenge. Can you blame her? He nearly killed her. He really could have killed her. And what happened was she ran to a pet hospital as a result of this, and now she wants to donate a good portion of her winnings to that to make up for that, which that's a noble thing. She doesn't really have to. I mean, it's not her fault that this happened, obviously. So yeah. In the end, the Ferocious Trout win just because of a couple setbacks that happen with the Frogs of Death, and they have to vote somebody off. And the final two people, actually, before I mentioned the final two last two marshmallow getters, Wayne and Raj vote for each other because they're kind of dim and they didn't realize, oh, we're going for what we want out of the game. Whoops. Doesn't matter, but it's a funny little detail. I like that. But yeah, the last two people who without marshmallows are Emma and Caleb. And the most you can say about Caleb is just that he sort of said I should pick up the pace with this challenge, which debatable if that was a good strategy or not. I don't think it would have been, but yeah, it's between those two, and you'd think that blonde Emma would have gone home, but no, Caleb goes home, and Bowie credits himself as the person who gets Caleb out, and it sounds like that happened for two reasons. One, he bonded with Emma early on, so that means he wants to keep her safe for this alliance, and two, he saw Caleb as a big, massive threat going forward, physically and socially, and I think that would make sense. I like that we have a lot more strategy going on already. Like, not a lot more, but just some strategy, and that makes us flesh it out a little bit more as a show. Other notes I want to give, Chef is sort of shown to be a bit of a co-host with Chris for once, not just the chef. I sort of like that angle, and I like that he and Chris have a decent big chemistry. I like that they're not completely sadistic, evil people. Like they're evil enough as these chefs, like a more demented version of Jeff Probst, obviously, but they're not literally trying to be the devil, if you will. So, yeah, that was Meet the Victims, and overall, I like this premiere quite a bit. It has a little room for improvement, but just as a foundation for this new season to set everything up, I'm overall pleasantly surprised by what I saw. So, yeah, that makes me especially excited for what else the season has to offer to us, and I cannot wait for the next episode to come our way. So I will be seeing you in the next episode. Take care.